New Super Lucky's Tale is one of my favorite 3D platformers of all time, so I decided to let my fiance play it to see how the game would resonate with her. She's not much of a gamer, and she grew up living in China, so her gaming literacy and English fluency are a bit low. But I think it'll be a fun experiment on how non-gamers experience games and insight to game design in general. So we start off in the first level, which also doubles as the tutorial. We see a sign that teaches the player how to control the camera. It indicates to use the right thumbstick, but she misunderstood the sign and tried other buttons instead, like the R shoulder button. I explained to her to use the thumbstick and she was on her way. Close by, there's a gem hidden behind a wall, and I was pleased to see that she used her newfound knowledge of camera controls to locate it. She also discovered on her own how to attack. Shortly after, there's a section which teaches the double jump mechanic, though I found it interesting that she was able to clear this gap with just a single jump. Perhaps it would have been better to make this gap longer, as I was worried she would continue on playing without learning this mechanic. Next, she learned the dig mechanic, which she really enjoyed. This is my favorite mechanic as well, and it is the mechanic which separates this game from others in the genre. There are two types of enemies in this level. The first is this caterpillar enemy, which she learned how to defeat pretty quickly. This flower enemy took a bit longer to learn. It requires two attacks to beat him, the first to stun him, and the second to finish him off. I wanted to shout, "Just attack him again!" but I kept my mouth shut. She eventually figured it out. In the second half of the level, the player is given the challenge of finding 3 golem heads. One is in the center of the map, one is on the left-hand side, and the final is on the right-hand side. She found the first 2 with no problem, but the third one, which was on the right-hand side, eluded her. The reason is that there's an orb on the right-hand side as well, which acts as a key to a secret area, and she thought that was the only reward for exploring the right-hand side. Overall, she really enjoyed the challenge of finding the golem heads. When I asked her why, she explained that it gave her a clear and fulfilling sense of achievement. The next level she played was Dungeon Run, an auto-runner level where the player has no control over their horizontal movement. It's the kind of level where if you make a mistake, you can't try again unless you restart the level. It's a pretty quick level designed to teach the player flow, and because it's so quick, she opted to retry the level a couple more times after she finished. I asked her later on what she thought about this level, and she said it was pretty forgettable, and that all the player does is jump around. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with the level design, but perhaps it could be contextualized differently to make it more exciting. For example, maybe a big boulder could be chasing the player throughout the level, which would also give a reason as to why the character is constantly running. This concluded our play session for day 1. Overall, she had a really good impression of the game, and I was especially happy when she wanted to continue playing the game the next day. It feels good having other people enjoy the same media that I enjoy. The next day, she started off playing the level Aqueducts. The unique feature of this level are these skull platforms with spikes at the bottom, which flip around after being stepped on. This is signaled through the skull's eyes becoming red and a slight shaking of the platform. It took her a while to realize this, and many hearts were lost because of it. Here she saw Mittens the cat at the bottom level, which made her want to figure out how to reach him. So she backtracked and found the entrance at the lower level. The designers did a good job making the bottom path obvious enough to pique the player's curiosity and teach them about secret paths. The last challenge of this level is a sequence of skull platforms all lined up in a row. She found this particularly exhilarating and a good way to finish off this level. The last level of this world is Go Fetch. The objective is to carry this golem head back to its body, but she was annoyed that she couldn't jump while carrying the head. It made it difficult to avoid obstacles, so she attempted to traverse this level without it. However, this caused confusion because you need the golem head for this platform right here to rise up like an elevator. This is a rare instance where there's a slight lack of affordance or signaling for how to progress in the level. It's minor because more often than not the player will be carrying the golem head. She also found the section with Sparky the Flame Dog to be frustrating, due to these dips in the terrain where it's easy to get stuck. You have to backtrack up a ramp to escape and move forward. However, this obstacle is introduced to the player at the same time as Sparky is chasing you. It's made worse by the fact that there are coins and gems in these dips which make it enticing to fall in them. Even I had trouble with this section my first time playing. I feel they should have introduced this obstacle earlier so that when they introduce Sparky, the player is already familiar with how to escape. Once the golem head is returned to the body, the player exits the cave, and my fiancé had a much easier time at the surface part of the level. She was very frustrated with the cave section, and it had put her in a sour mood, though she told me that in hindsight, the cave wasn't actually that bad. This boss fight against Mittens is one of my favorites. There are many obstacles hurled at the player, and you can avoid them by jumping over them, or even better, by digging under them. She figured out this strategy pretty quickly and even picked up on the fact that hitting the rock patches ejects the player from the ground, and so anytime she surfaced, she quickly started tunneling again, like a pro. She really enjoyed this boss fight and had a great time beating him. Overall, her favorite part of the game was when the task was about collecting things. Similar to the collecting of golem heads in level 1, there is a level in World 2 where the player is tasked to round up the chickens, and along with the lively characters, she had a blast doing so. However, when the task was more technical, she would grow frustrated, like this section where she had to tail swipe a switch and rush to dig under the raised wooden plank before the timer ran out. Sections like these would make her not want to play anymore. I hope this video proved insightful and interesting. There are a few places where I nitpicked the design of the game, but these are very small blemishes on what is otherwise an extremely well designed and well polished game.